The security alarm blared through the office as I watched my boss, the same woman who had given me a formal warning for being 2 minutes late last week, dive under my desk like a soldier taking cover from artillery fire. Her eyes, usually sharp with criticism, now pleaded with me as she whispered, "Act natural. Just keep working." That's when I realized, the person walking through our office door wasn't a client at all. If you're enjoying this story so far, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more unexpected workplace dramas that will keep you on the edge of your seat. I'm Eliza Chen, and 6 months ago, I was just another desperate college graduate drowning in student debt when Meridian Financial offered me salvation in the form of an entry-level accounting position. The pay was decent, the benefits were good, and my boss, Victoria Harlow, was, well, terrifying would be the polite way to put it. Victoria was the kind of boss who measured lunch breaks with a stopwatch and could smell social media browsing from 3 cubicles away. Her tailored pantsuits and perpetually tight bun gave her the appearance of someone who had never experienced joy, only quarterly targets. The office joke was that she'd been born in a business suit with a performance review already in hand. Despite her rigid demeanor, Victoria was brilliant at what she did. Under her leadership, our department consistently outperformed every other division. She demanded excellence because she delivered it herself. I respected her professionally, even while I feared her personally. That Tuesday started like any other. I arrived 15 minutes early. Victoria's influence had made me pathologically punctual, settled at my desk with my coffee, and began reconciling client accounts. The morning crawled by with the predictable rhythm of spreadsheets and email responses. Around 11:30, Victoria emerged from her office, which was unusual. She typically remained behind her glass walls until precisely 12:15, when she would take her 30-minute lunch break at her desk. But there she was, walking with purpose toward my cubicle, her face uncharacteristically pale. "Eliza," she said, her voice oddly quiet, "I need those Johnson account projections by 2. No excuses." Her words were typical Victoria, but her tone was off. Her eyes kept darting toward the elevator bank. "Yes, Miss Harlow. I'm almost finished with them," I replied, confused by her nervous energy. She lingered by my desk, pretending to look at my monitor while continuously glancing over her shoulder. Then the elevator dinged, and Victoria's face went from pale to ashen. "Is everything okay, Miss Harlow?" I asked. "Fine," she snapped, but her voice trembled slightly. "Just work on those projections." The elevator doors opened, and a man in an expensive suit stepped out. He wasn't someone I recognized, but Victoria clearly did. In one fluid motion that I still can't quite believe happened, my always composed, always dignified boss dropped to the floor and crawled under my desk. That's when the security alarm began to wail. "Act natural. Just keep working," she whispered from beneath my desk, her voice barely audible over the alarm. I froze for a second before forcing my fingers to continue typing nonsense into an Excel spreadsheet. The suited man approached the receptionist, flashed something that looked like a badge, and began speaking urgently. 2 more men in similar attire emerged from the stairwell and began methodically moving through the office. "Ms. Harlow," I whispered, looking down at my lap where I could see her crouched in an uncomfortable position, "what's happening?" "Financial Crimes Task Force," she whispered back. "They're not supposed to be here until tomorrow. Someone tipped them off early." My heart rate doubled instantly. Is the company doing something illegal?" Victoria's eyes met mine, and for the first time, I saw something human in them, fear, yes, but also determination. "Not the company. Just one person. And it's not what they think." The suited men were moving closer, checking IDs and asking questions. I could feel Victoria's breath against my knees as she tried to make herself smaller. "They're looking for you?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. She nodded almost imperceptibly. "Eliza, I need you to trust me. I haven't done anything wrong, but they think I have. I just need time to prove it." I should have called them over. I should have stood up and pointed under my desk. That would have been the responsible thing to do. But something in Victoria's eyes, the raw vulnerability I'd never seen before, made me hesitate. What do you need me to do? I found myself asking. My office. Second drawer on the left. There's a blue flash drive. I need it. One of the agents was now only 2 cubicles away, asking my colleague Simon about Victoria's whereabouts. She's in a meeting off-site, Simon was saying. Won't be back until late afternoon. I realized I had seconds to decide. Help my boss, who might be a criminal, or alert the authorities, who might be mistaken. It was the kind of decision that changes lives, mine included. Stay here, I whispered, standing up. I'm going to the bathroom. I walked as casually as possible past the agents, nodding politely when one glanced my way. Instead of turning toward the restrooms, I slipped into Victoria's empty office, my heart pounding so loudly I was sure everyone could hear it. The second drawer on the left contained the usual office supplies, pens, paper clips, sticky notes, and tucked in the back, a small blue flash drive. I palmed it, closed the drawer, and was about to leave when I noticed Victoria's computer was still on. The screen showed an email thread with the subject line, Meridian discrepancies, urgent. Against my better judgment, I quickly scanned the emails. They were between Victoria and someone named Marcus Whitfield, the company's external auditor. Victoria had discovered irregular transactions, large sums being moved through offshore accounts, and had been documenting them for weeks. The last email from Victoria read, Marcus, this goes all the way to the top. Daniels is involved. Meeting with FCTF tomorrow to hand over evidence. Keep this between us until then. Daniels. As in Richard Daniels, our CEO. The office door opened, and I quickly minimized the email, pretending to be looking for a stapler. Can I help you? It was one of the agents. Just grabbing some supplies, I said, holding up a random stapler from Victoria's desk. My boss asked me to finish the Johnson projections, and I ran out of staples. He looked at me suspiciously. Your boss is Victoria Harlow? I nodded, trying to keep my face neutral while my pulse raced. And when did you last see Ms. Harlow? This morning, I said, which wasn't technically a lie. She mentioned she had meetings off-site today. He studied me for a moment longer, then stepped aside to let me pass. I walked back to my desk, the flash drive burning a hole in my pocket. Victoria was still under my desk, now looking increasingly uncomfortable in her cramped position. I got it, I whispered, pretending to adjust my chair. And I saw the emails. You're investigating Daniels? She nodded slightly. He's been embezzling funds for years. I've been building a case for months. Someone must have warned him I was meeting with the task force. So these agents are legitimate, but they think I'm the one behind it all. Daniels set me up to take the fall. All the evidence I've gathered is on that drive, along with proof of my innocence. The alarm finally stopped, leaving an eerie silence in its wake. The agents were now gathered at the reception desk, speaking with our office manager. They're going to search the building, Victoria whispered. I need to get out of here. I made a split-second decision that would change everything. Give me your blazer and take off your hair tie. Victoria looked confused but complied. With her hair down and without her signature blazer, she already looked different. I handed her my oversized cardigan and thick-framed glasses that I rarely wore. Put these on. When I say go, walk to the elevator like you're leaving for lunch. Don't run, don't look back. Why are you helping me? She asked, genuine confusion in her voice. It was a good question. One I wasn't entirely sure I had the answer to. Because I've watched you work 16-hour days to make sure everything in this department is perfect. Because you've never asked any of us to do something you wouldn't do yourself. And because those emails looked legitimate. Now go. As Victoria emerged from under my desk, transformed into a reasonable facsimile of an ordinary employee, I created a diversion by accidentally on purpose knocking over my coffee mug, sending brown liquid cascading across my desk and onto the floor. "Oh no!" I exclaimed loudly, drawing the attention of everyone nearby, including the agents. "I'm so sorry about the mess." In the commotion of people bringing paper towels and helping me salvage wet documents, Victoria slipped away toward the elevators. I watched from the corner of my eye as she pressed the button, stepped inside when the doors opened, and disappeared. Only then did I realize the magnitude of what I'd just done. I had helped a potential fugitive escape. I had obstructed a federal investigation. I had put my entire future at risk for someone who had never even bothered to learn how I took my coffee. The next few hours were a blur of questioning. The agents interviewed everyone in the office, paying particular attention to me since I was Victoria's direct report. I stuck to my story. She had mentioned off-site meetings. I hadn't seen her since morning. No, I didn't know where she might go if she was avoiding authorities. By the end of the day, the agents had gone, leaving behind a shell-shocked office and a temporary restraining order preventing anyone from accessing Victoria's files or office. I was exhausted, terrified, and beginning to seriously question my judgment. As I walked to the parking garage that evening, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Thank you. Meet me at Riverside Park, North Entrance, 7 p.m. Come alone." I sat in my car for 20 minutes, debating whether to go. Meeting Victoria could implicate me further if she was guilty. But if she was innocent, as those emails suggested, then she needed an ally. And for reasons I couldn't fully articulate, I wanted to be that ally. Riverside Park was quiet at 7 p.m., with just a few joggers and dog walkers enjoying the early evening air. I spotted Victoria sitting on a bench overlooking the water, still wearing my cardigan but with her hair tucked under a baseball cap. She looked smaller somehow, without her usual armor of authority. "You came," she said as I sat beside her, leaving a careful distance between us. "I'm not sure why," I admitted. "This could be career suicide. Or actual suicide if you're involved in something dangerous." Victoria smiled slightly, the first genuine smile I'd ever seen from her. "Fair enough. You deserve answers." She pulled out the blue flash drive. "Everything's here. The irregular transactions I discovered 3 months ago. The offshore accounts tied to Daniels. My correspondence with the auditor and the task force. Why not just give this to the agents today? Because Daniels has someone inside the task force. That's how he knew about tomorrow's meeting. If I had handed this over today, it would have disappeared, and I'd be in custody with no way to prove my innocence." She looked out at the water, her profile sharp against the setting sun. "I've worked at Meridian for 15 years, Eliza. Built my entire career there. When I found the discrepancies, I couldn't look the other way, even though I knew what investigating might cost me." "So what now?" I asked. "Now I meet with a contact at the FBI, someone outside the task force, someone I trust. But I needed this evidence first." She turned to face me fully. "You took an enormous risk today." "Why?" I considered the question carefully. "Because you've always demanded integrity in our work. It seemed unlikely you wouldn't apply the same standard to yourself." Victoria nodded slowly. "I've been hard on you. On everyone. I thought that was what leadership meant, setting impossible standards, accepting nothing less than perfection. It hasn't made you popular," I acknowledged. "No," she agreed with a small laugh. "But it's kept our department clean. Every transaction triple-checked, every account balanced to the penny. That's how I caught Daniels in the first place, because I was being obsessive about the details." We sat in silence for a moment, the gravity of the situation settling between us. "What can I do to help?" I finally asked. Victoria shook her head. "You've done enough. More than enough. Go back to work tomorrow, act surprised when they announce I'm wanted for questioning. Keep your head down. That's it? Just pretend today never happened? It's the safest option for you. I thought about my life 6 months ago, desperate for a job, any job, to start paying off my loans. I thought about the security of my position at Meridian, the steady paycheck, the promising career path. And then I thought about sitting at my desk tomorrow, knowing I had abandoned someone who was fighting alone against corruption. What if there's another option? I said slowly. What if I could help you prove Daniels is behind this? Victoria's eyes narrowed. How? I have access to the accounting system. I could look for patterns similar to what you found, create a parallel investigation. If Daniels doesn't know I'm looking, he won't cover his tracks the way he did with you. Absolutely not, Victoria said firmly. It's too dangerous. If Daniels suspects you're helping me. He won't, I interrupted. He doesn't even know my name. To him, I'm just another entry-level nobody. That's my advantage. Victoria studied me with new eyes, as if seeing me for the first time. You're not what I expected, Eliza Chen. Neither are you, Miss Harlow. And that was how I became the inside person in Victoria Harlow's quest to bring down Richard Daniels, CEO of Meridian Financial and embezzler extraordinaire. By day, I was the quiet, efficient employee expressing appropriate shock at my boss's disappearance. By night, I was combing through financial records, looking for the same patterns Victoria had identified. The next 2 weeks were the most stressful of my life. The office was in chaos, with interim management brought in and federal agents still appearing regularly to collect evidence. Daniels himself came down from the executive floor several times, his concern for the unfortunate situation so convincing that I almost doubted Victoria's claims. Almost. But the numbers didn't lie. Working from copies of records I quietly downloaded after hours, I began to see what Victoria had discovered: small discrepancies in international transfers, fractional amounts skimmed from large transactions, all ultimately flowing to a network of shell companies that, with enough digging, led back to accounts controlled by Daniels. Victoria and I met every few days, always in different locations, always careful not to be seen together. She was staying with a college friend, using cash only, living like a fugitive while we built our case. The Victoria I came to know during those clandestine meetings was nothing like the boss I had feared. She was still intense and detail-oriented, but also funny in a dry way, and surprisingly vulnerable when she talked about her 15 years at Meridian. I gave that company everything, she told me one night as we worked in a 24-hour diner, our papers spread across the table between plates of half-eaten pie. Missed my sister's wedding for a client emergency. Worked through pneumonia last year. Never took more than 3 consecutive days off. Why? I asked. Why push yourself that hard? She was quiet for a long moment. My father lost everything in the 2008 crash. Not because of his own bad investments, but because the firm managing his retirement was corrupt. They were cooking the books for years, and by the time anyone caught on, it was too late. He had to go back to work at 67, stocking shelves at a hardware store until he died. She looked up at me, her eyes fierce. I promised myself I'd never be part of a system that did that to people. That I'd always be the one checking and double-checking, making sure everything was legitimate. And then I find out the company I've dedicated my life to is doing exactly what destroyed my father. In that moment, I understood Victoria Harlow completely. Her exacting standards, her relentless attention to detail, they weren't about making our lives difficult. They were her way of protecting people she would never meet from suffering like her father had. We're going to stop Daniels, I promised her. We're going to make this right. On the 17th